All right, Peter. So here we are again. I want to bring some this as we talked before and as we both know. If you were to condense the whole fourth way into a writing that you can inscribe on a pen, yeah. So, and actually, somebody did that to me. When I was younger, somebody gave me a pen that was engraved this, which is the essence of the fourth way teaching, as that's the method, that is the path, and that is the destination that will be encapsulated in this term from Gurdjieff: remember yourself. Yeah, remember yourself always and everywhere. So this concept or term or practice or state or self-remembering can be looked at from different points of view depending on our own level of being and consciousness. But I would like to explore this a little bit more with you. And I know you gave it a lot of thought about it, and not just thought, but we both try to apply it and then tweaked our understanding about it. So also, I just want to put out here also because I found out later that this self-remembering had different etymologies or different roots. So there's this called Atma Vichara, Atman, Atma Vichara, which is could be translated as remembering Atman or remembering the self. Other translation will be, instead of remembering, will be investigation. So self-investigation or self-observation. Other translation will be self-remembering. Other translation will be self-abiding or self-resting. Yeah. And I think they all carry some aspect of this self-remembering. So I want to throw this in there. Also, another idea to throw into the mix is that although it's not so popular these days, this term self-remembering, it's very popular, this idea of mindfulness, like being mindful, cultivating mindfulness. And Eckhart Tolle became very popular, and I love Eckhart Tolle, and talking about the presence and being present, and being present to the now and all of that. So I would like to discuss and explore self-remembering while linking to this also mindfulness. Thich Nhat Hanh, Zen master, Vipassana, talk about this mindfulness of breathing, mindfulness of energies in the body, as well as being present to the now. Yeah, so linking all of this. And I know it's a big area, so it may take a long time. So so what's your, now after all these years, your best understanding, or let's say starting as a beginning definition about self-remembering, or anything that you want to go about this to tackle the subject, Peter, however you want to go about it, and take your time.
One way to approach it is that we can look at it on a horizontal line. Self-remembering, what does that mean in the moment, in time, as a person, now, in the present? What is self-remembering? And then we could also examine it in a vertical way. What is self-remembering relative to consciousness or awareness? Because when we say self, that can be misconstrued as this self trying to remember itself here. And that's valid. That's valid on one level. And then there's the self, which is not a self of awareness or pure consciousness, which doesn't remember itself by trying to remember itself. The way I experience it, understand it, is it realizes that it is here. It self-realizes. And you could call that, that is self-remembering, but then it is no longer remembering. Yes, it is self-being, you might say. So what is self-remembering horizontally? That's how we usually approach it, or we did in the fourth way. That's how Ouspensky introduced it. He devised the concept of divided attention when he learned about self-remembering from Gurdjieff. And many people, especially many people we know in the fourth way, use that model. And it's really a model for the mind to be able to conceptualize what self-remembering is. And so, for example, you know this, ordinarily I look at a tree or a house or another person, and my awareness is sort of collapses out of itself, and it collapses into what I'm aware of. And it's almost like not a grabbing, it's like I think of it as a collapse. Awareness disappears from itself, from its own awareness. It collapses into other things. Those other things can also be thoughts or emotions or sensations. And so in that sense, if you think of it horizontally, there's the object, whether it's a thought or a person or a house. And here's me, well, let's just say me for now. And instead of awareness just collapsing, and now all I see is my hand, and holding my hand, instead, as Ouspensky said, there's now divided attention, or you can think of it as divided awareness, or you can think of it as dual awareness, which then becomes one awareness. Now there's a hand, there's awareness of being aware of the hand. Now I'm here as well as there. And in fact, in right order, I would be here first, always, and then go there. So send my attention on an errand. Send awareness on an errand of attention to look at my hand. But awareness stays here too, always. Now the mind can think about that. And then when it does, or even when you experience this awareness I'm speaking of, the mind will then say, oh, now I'm aware of both. Well, now that has just become something in the mind.
It's a thought,
yes?
now, yeah?
It's become a thought, exactly. It's become a thought or a sensation, even. You can kind of have a sensation related to that. But I think of it like this too. Let's say my awareness normally collapses into my hand when I look at it. And it's like there's a sphere around my hand. And the awareness goes, it gets sucked into that. And that's really what identification is. Identification means that the awareness goes out, it attaches to the thing it's looking at, and then it establishes some kind of identity in the object. And it may be an identity of me, my hand, or it may be the hand. Look at the hand. The hand has an identity of its own. And so self-remembering is already trying to be less identified with what we're aware of. And that's an important aspect of self-remembering. Self-remembering and identification are kind of like opposite sides of the same thing. The less you're remembering yourself, the more apt you are to be identified. The less identified you are, the more apt you are to be self-remembering, or the more available self-remembering suddenly is. It's very close if you're not identified. So if self-remembering might also mean that I said there's a sphere around my hand or around the house or around the person, if then the awareness is also here, now suddenly it's like there's a sphere here. I'll call it a sphere of awareness. So now there's two spheres. Here's Ouspensky's model. divided attention, divided awareness, dual awareness, however you choose to call it. And then that is very different from what most people are experiencing most of the time, as you know. Most people are enamored, fascinated, caught up in, engulfed in, entrenched in whatever it is they're aware of. And this awareness here is always so close, so available, and yet it's missed, it's overlooked. All the awareness is going there. So what if instead of my awareness collapsing into what I'm aware of, what I'm aware of collapses into awareness? This is very different. To be in the world and to have everything collapsing into awareness. I mean, I won't say any more than that. That's enough, I think, to get someone interested in experiencing it, but not with thought. That's I've also just introduced another concept, really, but in the actuality of that, this is the idea in the fourth way of impressions and why impressions are food. It's not that you go out necessarily and get the food and then eat it. It's that you are now here and everything comes to you as awareness. Everything collapses into awareness and then enriches awareness.